I think there are some characters in Genshin Impact that will never be bad, as their fundamental power doesn't exactly lay in how much percent damage they do according to their build or how hard they hit, but due to their usefulness in teams and overall utility, they will always be good, even if Genshin decides to release a character that literally one-shots everything due to its extremely high damage. And that is why I think Zhongli and Childe/Tartaglia will always be good in Genshin Impact. Now let me explain. Now let's begin with Childe/Tartaglia. The reason why he is currently still a very good character in Genshin is due to two factors. One, Hydro is an amazing element and is incredibly strong, and two, his synergy with a large variety of characters on the Genshin Impact roster. First of all, Hydro. Now we are currently in the Hydro continent, so we are going to get a lot more Hydro appliance units, which are going to rival with Childe/Tartaglia for his spot as a great melee range Hydro character. But his synergy with characters like Zhongli, like Kazuha, is just immeasurably good. If there is a large pack of enemies, Tartaglia with Zhongli and Kazuha will almost always be your best option for quickly mowing them down and to just keep going, as their combos have quite little downtime and you're not necessarily dependent on Tartaglia's ultimate for this. But why is Tartaglia timeless in this? Well, if he would literally deal 1 damage with his E skill, he would still be good. Because the main reason his skill is so good is because it spreads Hydro immensely well through the enemy team, so that you can, deal a ton of damage with Kazuha, but most importantly, vaporize with your Zhongli. So the Hydro spread is really why this character is so viable, and the damage is kind of secondary. So, because him spreading Hydro is his main thing that he does, it becomes kind of timeless, because let's say we get better Pyro units, Tartaglia is still going to be good. And as we have seen with a new element like Dendro, Tartaglia is still incredibly good inside of these Dendro teams, because the Dendro reaction he can proc amazingly together with someone like Nahida, Kuki Shinobu and Kazuha. With this team you can have an incredibly strong Hyperbloom team, and that is because Tartaglia is there to apply the Hydro as good as he can, and he is one of the best at it. Now of course, in this example, if he would seriously only deal 1 damage per attack, he of course would be absolutely terrible, as his damage is actually quite good. But the main reason why you would slot him is for his utility, and the damage is secondary, but it can definitely still be quite high. But compared to someone like Raiden Shogun, it is definitely on the lower side. And for that reason I think he is timeless, because his damage is good, but he doesn't depend on it to actually be viable. Now on to Zhongli. Now what does Zhongli do? Zhongli makes you survive much longer. And him helping you survive for much longer is the main reason why he is timeless. Abyss is getting more and more difficult, and enemies are hitting harder and harder for almost every new Abyss floor. And having a healer sometimes just isn't enough, as you just get evaporated by getting hit from an instant attack. And that is why having a character like Zhongli is quite incredible, as he does 3 simple things, and again we are going to go back to the theme of he doesn't deal any damage, and that is why he is timeless. He gets rid of enemy resistances, and because enemies have less resistance, your actual damage dealer will just be dealing more damage always. He has an incredibly strong shield, so all the hard hitting enemies can just hit the shield and probably not break it, or at least not one-shot you. And his ultimate deals a reasonable bit of damage, but most importantly stuns enemies for a long time. And with these enemies that are just constantly moving around, having a stun is actually quite good and gives you a little bit more DPS opportunity. So your DPS doesn't really increase, but you get more opportunities to deal your DPS. Now the reason Zhongli is timeless is similar to that of Tartaglia. His damage is kind of low, but all his other utility is going to be good at any stage of the game and is always going to be good. So no matter if we get new characters that can easily deal millions of damage, you'd still want to slot in Zhongli, so that character does not get one shot from different enemies in the Abyss and still deals more damage through the stun from Zhongli and the resistance shred that his E skill does. So he is just a great support and will always be a great support no matter how much damage power creep there is. So the main conclusion is, as long as your character is not completely dependent on their damage number, it is a lot harder for them to get power creeped, because you pull them for their utility like Zhongli's shield, or amazing elemental reactions like Tartaglia's hydro appliance. And thus, these characters stay viable inside of Genshin Impact and get power creep less often by new characters who just deal more damage. I hope this was informative, and I wish you a very nice rest of your day.